Welcome, everybody, to a beautiful October 14th, 2019. I am Krusty Canuck, and in this episode, we're going to discuss the moral high ground of all of our candidates. And I'm going to take a dissection of every speaker that we have, every politician, and every other crony that follows. All this and more coming up in the Krusty Canuck podcast. Stay tuned.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Aye, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are all equally worthless, according to some of our politicians out there that keep pulling the race card, race baiting, and all this other economic strife in the face of our federal election coming up in the next week. That's right, we've got 1 week before we decide who is going to be our new prime minister and the new governing body that shall look after all of us. Now, I spent the past week in Edmonton doing some training, and I've met some wonderful people, a very, very diverse bunch of persons from all walks of life. Some of my employers are from a diverse background. Some of my coworkers are from a diverse background. And we've actually sat in class and discussed some of these issues in regards to who is supreme and who isn't supreme in the political spectrum we call Canadian Parliament. And all we can agree is that our leadership sucks, really. Some of the individuals I've had some lengthy discussions with in regards to the Liberal mandate, they're all equally disappointed as much as I am, and they're not veterans either. They're disappointed that prosperity cannot come to the province of Alberta. They're disappointed that immigration has more of a priority than our seniors, and clean water is not a priority. Right, and rightfully so. And nobody in their right mind here in Alberta or here in the West is saying no to immigration. The majority of us, at least the people I have talked to, has always said something about, being realistic about it, being responsible about it, right? There's nothing wrong with coming to Canada, nothing wrong with coming to a democratic country to have a better life, to propose a better life, to provide a better life for your loved ones or for yourself for that matter. But we've all seen Trudeau's take on how immigration is a priority. Yeah, just cross Roxham Road. Don't worry about the repercussions. Don't worry, we have benefits that will look after you. And that's a problem. I've actually had some heated debates with some individuals because I'm a veteran and you have benefits and I get a pension, yeah, because I've earned that. They weren't just handed to me. Right? I spent the better part of 2.5 years doing paperwork to get said benefits, to get said what I was entitled to based on my terms of service and based on my OSI and based on other things. And I had to fight 2.5 years to get that. And there's also individuals, as we speak, or as I speak, that are still waiting for benefits, for bad knees, bad back, shrapnel still lodged in parts of their bodies, bad eyesight, bad hearing, and overall quality of life has been compromised because of their terms of service. Now, yes, they volunteered. They joined. And with that volunteering and with that risk, they are also guaranteed service to keep them alive. Now, some of my civilian listeners out there, when you sign a contract to do something for a government, municipality, there is a guarantee of you being looked after if you're hurt in the line of duty. Firefighters have it, police officers have it, right? Ambulance drivers have it, doctors, and of course our beloved elected officials. Right? So when it comes down to the census of what leadership has done for this country, not much in the eyes of the veteran, not much in the eyes of the seniors, not much in the eyes of the First Nations, not much in the eyes of clean water or pollution, right? And after watching all of the debates, the English debate especially from last week, or a week and a half ago, I believe, and even some of the French. I do understand a bit of French. You know, I might bastardize the language a bit, but I make the effort to understand. And they're all saying the same thing. They're all sidestepping, you know. I'm a little disappointed in the Conservatives, right? Because Alberta is traditionally a Conservative province, even after the lackluster performance that Rachel Notley promoted as Premier. You know, 1 minute saying, oh, let's ban this, let's ban that, and let's add more money to the spectrum and create more benefits and more free stuff for people. Yay, free stuff. No. You know, that doesn't benefit anything. Because no such thing as free stuff. We both know that. You, my listeners, and others, we know all this quote-unquote free stuff comes from taxpayers' money. Right? It doesn't come from the government. There's no such thing as a magical government money tree, ladies and gentlemen. The government money kitty is not a Norman Rockwell painting where you're harvesting dollar after dollar off a community tree. The community tree is the Canadian taxpayer, municipal, provincial, and federal alike. And it doesn't matter if it's Jagmeet Singh or Elizabeth May or Andrew Scheer or Justin Trudeau or Maxime Bernier or any other representative. Tax dollars have to be spent to get things done. We all know that. That's inevitable. We all know roads got to be built and bridges got to be maintained. Infrastructure is key, you know, making sure that goods and services travel the highways and the railways and the airways, respectively. But this election has been nothing but pardon my French, a fucking con in all aspects. I sit with my wife and we discuss conservative policies and we discuss PPC policies. And we both know Liberal policies are garbage because Justin's party has proved nothing but division. You know, to my listeners in Ontario and Quebec, you know, well, there's no other solution I can think of when it comes to the Liberal mandates, when it comes to the environment. Oh yes, let's charge more tax. Let's nail big polluters. Okay, why aren't you nailing the major cities that dump raw sewage into the waterways? Instead of charging us an extra 40 cents a liter, an extra $3 or $4 a day for heat and hydro, right? Why aren't you nailing the bigger manufacturers out there that do put pollutants into the sky as we speak? You know, considering that Canada's carbon footprint is what 1.6 or 1.5% compared to the world, compared to Red China, compared to parts of India, and parts of what some of the United States has contributed thus far, right? But what do we know, right? You know, what do we know on the big spectrum? And when it comes to the moral authority, you know, with the exception of the Conservatives and the PPC, every party has pulled out this race card. You know, you question Jagmeet Singh's platforms. Oh, it's racist. You question Justin Trudeau's platforms. Oh, it's racist. You know, that's been in the news. Now, granted, there were a couple of idiots that went up to Jagmeet Singh and made some pretty rude comments to him in regards to his turban and his background. Yeah, I agree. That's pretty fucking stupid, right? Now, I don't always believe when in Rome, do as the Romans do, but I do believe let liberty fling and let liberty fly and persevere, right? I don't care if you wear a turban. I don't care what skin color you were born with, you know. I like to call people people. I don't say people of color, people of this, people of that. That itself is an arrogant term, people of color. No, people. People who might be Asian, people who might be black, people who might be brown, people who might be pink or purple, you know, or a different spectrum of colors, whatever. People, right? But Mr. Singh does nothing but promote free stuff. You know, Medicare, you know, I appreciate the heart out there and the kumbaya and let's promote unity, but you don't promote unity by taking more money from people. You know, we all know in life there's always going to be the haves and have-nots. But like I've said numerous times before, I've seen the have-nots become the have-ees. And you're listening to one of them, people. There was a time in my life where I was poor. There was a time in my life where I didn't have a lot of money. You know, I made some bad decisions. But with determination, discipline, and pure ambition, I became the have-ee. I managed to get things paid off. I earned everything I have done in my life, right? And I've had some good people back me up. And I've had lots of bad people stand in my way. But in a way, I'm inadvertently thanking those bad people, too, for fueling my fire. So, make a long story short, when it comes to moral high ground of these individuals, put down your race cards. It's irrelevant. Canada is not full of blatant racism and systematic racism. All right? Now, I will admit there have been a few First Nations who have been ritually screwed out of deals. And there have been an abundance of white people who have been screwed out of deals, too. Working class folk, ladies and gentlemen. Communism is not the answer. Friendly fascism is not the answer. Democracy. So, brings me to the next point. Get out there and vote. Period. Vote for the better person that's going to look after your riding. Vote for the party that you think has the pure raw cojones, the balls, to get the job done. And whether they become a majority or minority, think about the people that are actually going to stand up in the Houses of Parliament, the House of Commons, yes, you know, the House of Commons, based on the British example, that's going to get in there and fight the good fight for what you believe in. Not just as a taxpayer or as a Canadian, but as a citizen living in, I think, in probably one of the better democracies on the planet. Right? Get out there and vote. My wife and I took full advantage of the advanced polls, by all means, you know. And it seemed kind of creepy, but needless to say, I went in there and I voted. I'm not going to say who I voted for. You know, who you vote for is none of your business, and who I voted for is none of your business. Not to be snotty, but it's kind of a personal thing to me. But I voted for liberty, I voted for sanity, I voted for family, and I voted for Canada. Right? A lot of my brothers and sisters fought for this nation, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of them are still fighting. Whether they're serving right now or whether they're retired, whether they're veterans, such as myself and my other friends, they're still fighting for benefits. They're still fighting for to be heard. Right? And on all spectrums. Right? I can tell you this right now, liberals have never ever been a friend to the military since at least 1968. And history has proven that time and time again when it comes to procurement, when it comes to acquiring new equipment, new mandates, right? Recruiting, everything. Well, I don't think the NDP would ever be a friend of the military. They say so in their platforms. Oh, we'll look after veterans. Sure you will. Right? And I will say there was a couple of conservative politicians that really gave me a hand in getting firecrackers up the butts of some Veterans Affairs officials to get me my benefits where they were due. And I'm ever so thankful for those individuals too. Right? I'm very thankful for that, you know. And it proves that people in our riding were fighting for my interests and other interests and citizens of this area too. So well done, sirs and ma'ams, for the committed efforts. Right? And there's a few friends of mine back in Ontario. They're still waiting to get things done. Getting things in order so they can get their bills paid, so they can carry on with their lives. You know, not to forget their terms of service or forget what they did overseas, but just to carry on in a positive and structured manner so they can live the rest of their lives with dignity and respect, just like anybody else deserves for time in and time served. You know, you do 20 years in any job. You know, you do it loyally and faithfully, then you should be respected and rewarded for it. Doesn't matter if it's military or medical service or public service. You know, nobody deserves just to be dismissed because they don't meet a certain status quo, right? Or agree with you. So, I'll be putting links at the end of this podcast in regards to status quo and moral high ground. There's a couple of stories out there. One from Canadian Polly, who talks about the moral high ground with Jagmeet Singh in regards to the political campaign. It's quite interesting. I highly suggest you click on it and watch it for yourself. Some really, really good ideas and some fantastic suggestions on his part. You know, he's a proud PPC supporter, but needless to say, he gets the roots of the story, and I got a lot of respect for that Canadian Polly guy. Well done, sir. Yeah. And Daniel Boardman, another, I mentioned him before in a few episodes. Independent guy, well organized, very articulate. He's got some great words to say too. And I'll be adding something from the Canadian Patriot in regards to a couple of Albertans being quote unquote kicked out of a town hall because they weren't applauding. Apparently, you have not clapped. I want you to clap, so therefore you leave the symposium. Yeah, you know. So it's quite interesting what they had to say. But you, my listeners and viewers alike, I'll let you decide. Which brings me to thank you to the people who have contributed thus far. Excuse me. Last week, I come to a little surprise. There were a few donations from some fans. Thank you very much for that donation. It's getting bigger. I won't be handing over 30% just yet. I have to make some kind of quota based on my websites. But I'm trying to raise enough money to help the Veterans Association Food Bank to give them a good 30%. They do wonderful things, ladies and gentlemen. They're based out of Calgary. I have talked to their honchos in regards to that. I'm Krusty Canuck and I'm raising money for you. And they're very, very grateful. They do wonderful things. They build ramps for people in wheelchairs. They build access ways. They assist with people with the cost of living, provide good food, of course, and they volunteer their time with other vets in need. A very good cause, very good charity, and I highly suggest if you do not donate to me, you can donate to them directly. I'll leave a link at the end of the video. If you give $25 or more, they will give you a tax receipt, so it looks in your taxes in the next fiscal year. And they appreciate everything that they can receive. They've had a fight with the government, too, in regards to funding and what have you. So they've got a few stories. But I'll leave the link at the end of the video here so you can decide for yourself. And if you do decide you want to donate to me, you can. As I said numerous times, every donation will help me build, supplement my income. But 30% of every donation that you give, I will graciously give to the Veterans Association Food Bank because of the above mentioned. And if you just want to donate, you can do that too. And if you do donate a committed $5 to $10 a month out of one of my feeds, I will graciously mail you a T-shirt of your choice from my Teespring line. I'll leave the links there too. You can find it all in my webpage, www.krustycanuck.ca, or I'll leave the other links you can subscribe to accordingly. But 30% of every donation I will graciously give to Veterans Association Food Bank. You can see my Subscribe Star and my GoFundMe and other pages. I'm trying to reach a certain goal. So I give them a good chunk of change rather than giving $5 or $6 at a time. I'd rather give them a good lump sum, something they can work with. So, that being said, the moral high ground, yet again, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, it was in Edmonton, and I went to the book signing of Mr. Ezra Levant from Rebel Media. His Libranos book looks really good. I haven't read it yet, but basically uncovering the corruption of the whole Liberal Party of the past 4 to 5 years. And it looks really good. Now, he was originally supposed to go to the Princess Theater near White Avenue in Edmonton. I went there between classes and to check it out. And to my surprise, some local NDP representatives from the Notley government had the theater shut down because they don't agree with Mr. Ezra Levant. Now, I'll leave a link to that story too, but when I was there, I talked to some locals and I talked to some people who were there to support Ezra. And the owner of said theater was forced to keep the doors closed because of local politicians. So, what's that tell you, folks, about democracy in Canada? Doesn't matter if it's Alberta, if it's Toronto, whether you have a bunch of ungrateful snots screaming at an old lady in Hamilton, or people screaming at a rally in Ottawa, or people trying to block any kind of rally here in Alberta. Puts things in perspective now, doesn't it? Right? It makes you really, really think about who is calling the shots in this country, in any city for that matter, There are some points Ezra has made in his past that I don't agree with, but I'm not going to go on my way to shut the man down either, And when I actually talked to the gentleman, he's just down to earth. It doesn't matter what news source he represents. It doesn't matter what faith he has. He's a down-to-earth Canuck, right? And at that book signing, it was all moved to Rosie's Bar and Grill there. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for mentioning it, but it's in the Strathcona area of the city. And quite a nice little bar, good people. And there was quite a mix of diversity there. So if people are worried about how diverse it was quite diverse. Ideas, backgrounds, and nationalities, quite a few. There's a few First Nations individuals there I talked to, and a few gentlemen from mainland China, a couple of ladies from the other side of the nation, a couple of ladies from the former Soviet bloc countries. So there's quite a few of diverse individuals that were at that book signing, and it was really a good time. Just talking and mingling with all these different individuals, and it was quite interesting. Just to sit back and have a couple of drinks and just listen to different points of view. Something we don't do anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we do it, but it's not, of course, on the mainstream media's platform because they believe in ratings and dollars and division, right? So, that being said, I suggest take a look at Libranos, and when it comes to independent news, give it a support, give it a thumbs up. Just listen to what they have to say. We're constantly mired about the whole fake news narrative and all these little groups stepping up and saying, oh, that's not real, and this is real, and this is fake, and that's not fake. And think for yourselves, folks. All the more reasons for this next election to come up and start thinking for yourself what you want to be done. You want the truth? I want the truth. We all want the bloody fucking truth. It just seems there's so many corporate mandates out there that are going to hide the truth from us. Of course, the media is being a real con now because they got $600 million from the Canadian taxpayer, right? Some of these so-called low-scale fledgling newspapers are getting a boost every week or every month, right? So they're going to say what their boss is going to tell them to say, right? They got a handout, so they better walk the party line, right? That's just simple politics. Walk the party line or else. So, of course. Yes, I'm smoking a cigarette and having a cup of coffee. Anyhow, enough of this rambling with the Trudeau phony symposiums and the NDP phony symposiums and the Green phony symposiums. It's all about taking more money from the Canadian taxpayer, halting oil production, not really doing anything about it, and lying to the people. It's about control, right? I'm fortunate that my medication and my medical attention is paid for based on my terms of service and based on my pension. I'm lucky. My wife and I are covered, right? We're both lucky. But that came from me serving 20 years. It wasn't just handed to me, ladies and gentlemen. I had earned that, right? And because of my diagnosis with an OSI and other things, I was given extra perks, but I had to fight for those. Okay? Like I said, it took me 2.5 years of paperwork to get things done, right? And I'm not trying to disenfranchise people who do work for Veterans Affairs and do an honest job, but every government office, it doesn't matter if it's Revenue Canada, Veterans Affairs, Ministry of Ocean and Fisheries, or Ministry of Joe Blows down the road. They all toe the party line one way or the other. Okay? So, if you've worked for benefits and you busted your ass to get those benefits, as far as I'm concerned, you're entitled to them. Right? And you crossed your T's, dot your I's, you're entitled to them. As far as I'm concerned, every Canadian deserves clean water in this country, fresh air, the right to vote, and the right to prosper, and the right to do what the hell you want with your property, or to buy said property, or to sell said property. Okay? I'm not scared about the gun mandate. The Liberals are just trying to win votes. Who knows what they come up with? Hypothetically, let's say if they do get in again, well, there's going to be a fight on their hands. I'm not saying people are going to go to the streets and start throwing rocks or pulling out guns, but there's going to be a lot of tension and a lot of fights in their hands. So they might rethink that. As far as on the Conservative platform, they're not going to touch guns. PPC is not going to touch guns. But of course, if the NDP and the Greens get together, the whole thing, well, guns are bad and they're evil and oh my goodness, we have to get along and kumbaya and we have to take more of your money. That sums it up. Really. How else do I sum it up? As far as I'm concerned, their platforms are outdated, not realistic. They're not grounded in anything realistic. If Jagmeet Singh says he can get oil workers working in a non-fossil fuel kind of way, I like to see the outline of that program. I like to see the blueprints of that program and the foundation of that program myself personally. Same thing with Elizabeth May. While she's dictating that we don't do this and don't do that, well, she's living pretty high in the cow herself. And we all know Justin's fucking story. Born with a silver spoon in his nostrils and in his ass. So he's got nothing to worry about. He's got lots of money. Of course he does. Right? Because he inherited it. He didn't earn it. He inherited it. His grandfather earned it. Right? So that speaks for itself. But the next week, we really got to start thinking. We really should think who is going to represent us properly. I, for one, this democracy deserves to be defended and respected. I'd like to see more debates where there isn't so much fucking mudslinging around. I'd like to see more debates where politicians are actually standing on their own morals, their own personal morals, not just what the consensus is, but their own. Okay? I'm disappointed in Scheer because he's not really showing a lot of balls at the moment. He isn't. Right? And regardless of how you feel about the Conservatives or not, he's not really standing up. I'm seeing more of his members standing up. Pierre Poilievre, Michelle Rempel, Candice Bergen, really taking a stand on the gun issue and on the immigrant issue and our economy, above all else, right? You can't tax people into prosperity. That didn't work. Didn't work in the 30s. It worked kind of in the 40s because, World War II was going on. But in the late 40s, when we were building, in the 1950s, when industry and everything became prosperous again, taxing people into prosperity would never work. Brian Mulroney tried that crap in the early 90s when we had that recession. Instead of actually cutting spending to La Belle Province and other foreign interests, he increased the tax on tobacco and liquor. So people started paying double for those meager luxuries. And then we had a problem. Instead of people actually going to other stores to buy their tobacco products, they were buying it across the border and from the reservations. Rightfully so. Times are tough, times are troubling, and you want to sit and nitpick with certain luxuries because, you want to make money? Oh, okay, well, fuck you too. We'll go take our money and we'll spend it elsewhere. That's just basic marketing, ladies and gentlemen. And probably the only good thing that Chrétien did when he got into 93 was, lower taxes again on tobacco and liquor. But with that, we had to get rid of tobacco sales outside of drugstores and what have you. But still, I know smoking is a filthy, disgusting habit. But hey, nobody's perfect. So, and now powers that be want to tax gasoline and the heat we use to keep ourselves warm, right? And then now they're also promoting the whole, we got 12 years to live bullshit, right? So we know it's a con, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to plea. Yes, I'm going to plea. I'm going to say vote for the better person. Vote for the person that's going to represent your riding to the fullest of his or her abilities, right? Let's put away the race cards. I'm not responsible for what happened in the 1860s. Neither are you. I'm not responsible for what happened in the 1930s. Neither are you. I'm definitely not responsible for what happened in the 1960s. Neither are you. Okay? I'm not going to promote any kind of race card at all. People are people. I'm not going to take the SJW mandate and say, people of color are marginalized. What do you mean people of color? I've worked with and worked for quote-unquote people of color, and they weren't marginalized. They busted their asses to get where they were, based on merit, ambition, and fucking dedication. And as far as I've known them, they've never stopped once to feel sorry for themselves or pull out their race card on me and tell them, or to tell me that I owed them something because of what happened so many years ago. That's bullshit, folks. We know better. So, my listeners and my fans alike, I will plea, get out there and vote. Don't ever think that your vote is ever wasted. It's not. It is counted. It's counted and it's accumulated and it goes into our little machine. that finds us leaders to run this country. You know, look at the options we have. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but really consider the options. You know, there's no such thing as promoting free stuff. Oh, Medicare, well, hey, that'd be great to have a national medicine program, especially the people I know that are less fortunate. But at what expense, right? Another $3 or $4 more a day? Another $40 more a month for taxes? Right? Think about that. Another $3 or $4 a day to heat my home so somebody can, take an antidepressant because they're afraid of the world? Well, puts things in perspective now, doesn't it? Right? You want to save the earth. Oh, it starts with the Canadian taxpayers. Well, when the fuck did the government ever control the weather? Right? Government says we better pay more taxes to save the earth. Really? Is that is that the logic? Huh? A 16-year-old girl says, "How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?" And yet, how many people were teenagers in the Middle East in the 1970s that came to Canada fighting for their lives because their childhood was stalled or questioned because of religious ideology? How many kids in this country had to grow up quick because the state interfered with their education? Right? How many kids now are missing out in their childhood because mom and dad can't put food on the table because it's more important to keep the house warm than it is to feed your belly? Right? How many kids are losing their childhood right now because sometimes they find it hard to read or to adjust because somewhere the state says, here, give them drugs for the ADHD, or give little boys more Ritalin to calm them down. Right? I'm not trying to disenfranchise any teenager that speaks his or her mind, but don't try to bullshit me in the same in the same sense. Right? What I know of Sweden is you grew up in a great democracy, and there's tons of opportunity for you to go out and promote your product and to excel and to be prosperous. But I'm not going to be guilted because I smoke a cigarette or because I use gasoline. I'm not going to be guilted because I stand on guard for thee. Right? I want clean air. I want the environment to be safe and secure. But I don't buy the hype of 12 years and we're all going to die. No. In 12 years, that mentality is going to bankrupt us. And there's going to be a hell of a lot more to worry about besides maybe a few ice caps melting or a hot summer or a cold winter. Right? So, put that in perspective, folks. I really want you to think this next election. You choose your own moral high ground when it comes to it. You choose it. You choose what is right. We can all agree racism sucks. We can all agree sexism sucks. But let's not buy that narrative and that mandate. Right? Let's not buy into the fucking racial card bullshit. Let's not buy into the climate hype bullshit. Right? If Bob next door has 20 guns, so what? Right? You don't have any guns, so what? Is Bob going to snap one day and start blasting just because he has a scary gun? What if Bob drives a Trans Am? Does that mean he's a pig? Or does that mean he's a car enthusiast? Perspectives, folks. Perspectives. Right? Let's think about that come the 21st of October. You choose the moral high ground. You choose who is going to be the better person because it's our God-given fucking right in this country. And that is worth defending, period. That's not negotiable, right? Let's find some leadership in this country that can put things back in an order where we can all live with some harmony and some respect for each other, okay? The Liberals have divided very, very many spectrums. The Conservatives are afraid to stand up and say something. The NDP is talking about kumbaya and utopia. The Green Party is talking about kumbaya and utopia, but they all want a few more bucks out of our pocket. Not fucking likely. Not a fucking chance. I'm not going to let it happen, but I went out and voted anyway. Right? And I'm going to keep speaking on this platform. And if more time persists and finances become available, I will go out and I will interview more people and I will talk to more people in regards to the lackluster leadership this country has faced the past 4.5 to 5 years, right? When you watch that clown Trudeau talk about, the Harper years, he's still harping about fucking Harper. And yet his party has been in charge for 4 years. His party put this country into debt. Oh. How many billions of dollars has he put this country into debt for? For what? To help this little nation out here, this little nation out there, this group of people here. What has he done to help Canadians as a whole? What has he done? Right? Do the Conservatives have a better stance? I think they might. Do the PPC have a better stance? I think they might. But everybody wants to stop Scheer, and everybody wants to stop Bernier, and we have to stop this and stop that. How about we start looking after what's going to benefit Canada? How is Canada going to benefit this election? Right? Something to think about, folks. Anyhow, that is my spiel for this 14th of October, 2019. We got a week to go before the federal election. 1 week. Right? And my listeners out there, if you still are not decided, then you're going to have to pick somebody because every vote counts, honestly. No one's going to force you to vote. Right? But my logic is that if you don't vote in a democracy, you shouldn't bitch about it. That's just the way I roll. I voted in every federal election since I turned 18. And I voted in every provincial election since I turned 18. So getting out there and voting is your democratic right, regardless of these stooges listen to you or not. Get out there and vote, folks. It's up to you. It's up to the people. And, I doubt there'll be people screaming in the streets come the 21st if hypothetically a liberal government gets in again. But if that's the case, then I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep speaking my mind. I'm going to keep criticizing. And I'm going to get there in the street and start talking to more people and display my freedom of speech and do it proudly. Because I fought for this country. My brothers and sisters fought for this country. And I'm going to keep fighting. And I expect you do too. Anyhow, folks, I've been Krusty Canuck on this beautiful 14th of October. And really consider who we're going to put in charge. And next week, I'm going to try to get another video up and running for you all. I've been behind, I was in classes. But needless to say, I will do my best to get more videos and try to get some more comedy involved too. But speaking our mind is key here. Anyhow, remember, like I say, look after your friends and your loved ones. And humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye for now.